I have run two 10k races in the last month, Battersea 10k and Stubbington 10k. Battersea was an absolute car crash, and Stubbington might be one of my best races of all time. And so I want to talk a bit about how two races a month apart could go so differently. I went into this Battersea 10k with such high expectations. The race was in early December. I recently smashed my half marathon PB in 90 minutes and 28 seconds. Battersea Park is an amazing place to go out and run a fast PB. It's a flat loop of a park with pretty much no turns or any sort of hill. I dropped my training in the week leading up to the race, so I was well tapered and well rested, and I had expectations of finally breaking 40 minutes in the 10k. And my entire focus going into that race and during that race was on the time, on 40 minutes. But my build up to this race wasn't great. Despite dropping my mileage, my sleep and diet in the week leading up to the race were not great. My watch went from saying that I was productive to being strained because I dropped my training volume, yet I wasn't recovering like I should be. And the day of the race happened to be absolutely freezing conditions, and all of the trains had issues. So my train was delayed, and I arrived at the station about 2 kilometers from the race start a bit late. So I had to run the 2k from the station to the start of the race with a backpack on, and it ended up being like a tempo effort to the start line just to get there on time. And so the biggest mistake I made is that despite all of these challenges that I'd had in the lead up to the race, I went out at a 4-minute kilometre pace, just focused on hitting that time. And I carried that pace for the first 4k, and then I got a really, really bad painful stitch. And then I ran a 4:15-minute kilometre, and as soon as I saw that on my watch, my motivation just went completely out the window. Because I knew I wasn't going to get that sub 40, my whole goal in that race was gone. My heart rate actually started to drop towards the end of the race just because I wasn't motivated to push myself to the limit. And so I finished this race feeling pretty low. Which is ridiculous because I actually ran a 10k PB. I came in at 41 minutes and 8 seconds, but I came in just feeling super low because I hadn't hit that goal of sub 40 minutes. Good hard 10k effort, but yeah, not the big PB that I was hoping for. So after that race, I signed up to Stubbington 10k, and I had this goal that race would be different. I made sure that my diet in the lead up to this race was much, much more normal. And the night before Stubbington 10k, I didn't have the best sleep. But because I'd made sure that I'd slept really well in the week leading up to that race, it didn't necessarily matter. And so the morning of the race, I woke up at 6. I had about 2 hours at home, having breakfast, getting organised. I set off and arrived at the race about 2 hours before it started, so I had plenty of time to get organised. I even had time to go for a nice warm-up run with a couple of guys from the club. For Stubbington, I made the decision not to take the GoPro with me because I just wanted to have pure focus on the race. And so I decided before Stubbington I had one goal, and that was to finish strong. I didn't necessarily care about the time. I knew my fitness was somewhere around 40 minutes, 41 minutes for the 10k, but my only focus was that I would get to the 6-7k mark and push it hard. And when I got there on the day, it was like a wet and windy day. Perfect goal for conditions like that, because you just know that you're going to struggle at some point. So the race started about 10:30. We set off, and it was pretty busy at the start. I set off for about 4 minutes and 5 seconds per kilometre pace, which I knew was pretty comfortable to start off. After about 500 metres, that was probably the last time I looked at my watch for about 5 kilometres. So I had a quick glance down, and then I settled into the pace and just ran with the other runners around me. We had a mix of like torrential showers and rain, and the course was a big loop, so we had a mix of like headwinds and crosswinds as we went round. Like, it was pretty unpleasant weather, to be honest. Definitely not ideal racing weather. And it was about the halfway mark that I started to have a bit more confidence, and I looked down at my watch, and for the race so far I was averaging about 4 minutes and 2 seconds per kilometre, so I was a bit off 40-minute 10k pace, but I was like, I'm running well and running strong, and I started to feel like I had a lot more in me. And so for the rest of the race, I just focused on one runner in front of me, just slowly just picking off runners and working my way through the field. Didn't look at time, didn't look at how fast I was going through that group. I just made sure that I was constantly making progress. It was like 2,000 runners in this race. Being there with like a big running club makes a huge difference, because every now and then you're bumping into other people that you train with, and it gives you a big boost as you're running through. And I got to that final kilometre and knew that I was moving strong, and just decided to just go flat out. My last kilometre was 3 minutes and 50 seconds, so I really pushed it in strong at the end. I had a sprint finish to the finish line, and I finished in 40 minutes and 13 seconds. So a massive PB. I nearly knocked a minute off my time. So super happy with how that race went. Like, it's not sub 40, but it's a bloody good pace, a bloody good time. Just the feeling of finishing strong, despite the fact the weather wasn't perfect. Yeah, it was definitely a bit of redemption. And I cooked myself. I had nothing left at the end. So yeah, I'm happy that I put it all on the line. The importance of mindset, I think, just can't be discounted when you're going into these shorter races. A very good day.